Isn't the mission to try to get Iraq in a condition where they can make the political reconciliation necessary? And now that they're there, now that the security is as we had promised, the fact that they're not making the political reconciliation necessary, doesn't that concern you?
Well, David, it depends on if your definition of we're there is that we've turned over 10 provinces from U.S. military control to Iraqi control, but 8 have yet to be turned over. Our commitment was to stay there until we turned all 18, the entire country of Iraq, over to Iraqi forces. We're not there yet, but we've made tremendous progress, and that can be seen in the security in Baghdad. It can be seen in the optimistic attitudes of al-Maliki.
Well, they're so optimistic, in fact, Senator, that as you know, twice in the last 24 hours, the Iraq government has said, we want U.S. troops out by the end of 2010. Are you suggesting that somehow Americans know better about what's for Iraq than the Iraqis themselves?
No, I'm suggesting that we have the same goal that Iraq does, but we want to do it based upon assuring the rest of the world that they can handle their own security, and that would be with the transition of those provinces over to Iraqi security forces. We'd all like to be out tomorrow. We'd like to make sure that if the surge is needed in Afghanistan, and I think there's pretty much agreement that it is, that we can do that. But we don't want to slide backwards in Iraq. We've got too much invested in lives and dollars.
But, Senator, when they say that they'll be ready in 2010, by the end of 2010, why shouldn't we believe the Iraqi government?
David, I think that the Iraqi government should be believed, but the reality is that what their leaders say and what their military can do might be two different things. And I think to have a goal of that's firm and fast, and regardless of what it looks like on that end day we're leaving, would be a huge mistake if, in fact, we don't make the progress or they don't make the progress.
Senator, what did you make of the president in the White House the other day saying that, well, yeah, the United States, as a starting point in negotiations with the Iraqi government, agrees that there should be sort of a time on the horizon for withdrawal? If that's our starting point in negotiations, don't you think that the end result of negotiations would be a lot closer to the withdrawal date that Barack Obama has set than the sort of, well, let's just wait for troops, for conditions on the ground to dictate what we're going to do?
Well, David, that's like saying if I came out with an arbitrary date, you and every other journalist should go out and say, well, he's right, even though I might not be a commander, I might not have been on the ground lately. The things that disturb me is that when Barack Obama says, knowing now, had I known then what I know now, I still wouldn't have done the surge. The surge is what's put us into this position. So we can talk about when American troops leave, and potentially if we send some of those forces to Afghanistan to turn the trend around there. Without the surge, we'd either be bogged down in Iraq or we wouldn't have had the successes that we've had up to this point.
Senator, are you frustrated, though, when some 60% of Americans say, you know what, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we should not have fought this war in the first place, and great that the surge is going well with security, but it doesn't matter because it's the Iraqi government, the Iraqi people's responsibility, not ours?
David, it's always frustrating to make decisions that are about the American people's future and about the stability of the world, and it's not always easy, and it's certainly difficult when you talk about war. It would concern me more if the American people were comfortable with war. The reality is this is worth the fight, and we've got to stay until our troops come home victorious, and victorious means that the Iraqis can handle their own security.
Republican Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina. Senator, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Coming up, we will hear from a U.S. Senator who supports Barack